At Time 107.5, we're going to be looking ahead to the general election every week with a local look at a national issue that might affect how you'll vote. This week, it's housing. In a few minutes, we're going to be having a live discussion on air about the issue, and we'd like you to take part. Text your questions now to 60777, starting with the letters DXPFA. I'm Rupert Reid, and first, I'm going to be finding out what the housing situation is like in our area. Well, on the face of it, things look quite good. Nearly 3/4 of local people own their homes, more than anywhere else in London. Our houses are bigger too. Havering has the highest number of bedrooms per property on average in the capital. So, what's the problem? Is there a problem? I asked these residents for their opinion.
Yes, I mean certainly prices are beyond a lot of the local people.
Of course it's too expensive for local people. They can't get on the housing list either. So what do? Have to rent and pay terrible prices for that, don't they?
Well, it's not affordable, is it, really? They're just asking so much money to start with.
And there is a darker side to the facts. 10% of local households are living in poor conditions, such as overcrowding or no central heating. And housing is becoming unaffordable for local people. Prices across our area have risen by 20% in the last year alone. I asked David Smith, a local resident and External Affairs Manager for London at the National Housing Federation, why this is a problem.
There's a huge risk that if the housing market keeps going in the direction that it's going, then people like nurses and people like teachers, key workers, won't be able to live in the city anymore because they won't be able to afford to, and there won't be enough affordable housing for them. Just to give you an idea, the average house price in London now is over £500,000. People in London now need 14 times their average salary in order to be able to buy a house. If you're a young couple who want to buy your own home, then to get the average mortgage, you need a joint income of over £100,000. So we're really moving towards a position where key people to our economy won't be able to live within commutable distance to make these really essential public services work.
So it's clear that more affordable housing needs to be built. I've come down to Barking Riverside, home to the UK's biggest brownfield regeneration site. 10,000 new homes are going to be built here over the next 15 years for 26,000 people. That sounds good, but according to Smith, more still needs to be done.
I don't think Barking Riverside on its own is enough, sadly, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. The interesting thing about this is the backstory. I understand the planning permission for Barking Riverside has been in place for 20 years now, and it's taken that amount of time in order to negotiate with central government the money to bring the transport infrastructure in place, because you can't build homes which have got no link to the rest of the city.
So with more affordable homes being built, is this actually an electoral issue?
Housing, and particularly affordable housing, is going to be a real issue for people when they go into the voting booths this time. And I think that's the most important thing, particularly from the point of view of the National Housing Federation, but people across the country, is that whichever government we end up with in May, whichever colour they are, all of them pledge to commit to ending the housing crisis within a generation, so we don't have people who are being born now suffering the same injustices and the same problems with their housing situation as people who are now in their 20s and 30s and 40s.
Well, in a few minutes we'll be hearing from the main political parties who'll be telling us what they've got to say about housing. And don't forget that we're about to have a live discussion. Text 60777 to take part, starting your message with the letters DXPFA. I'll be back at the same time next week on Time 107.5.